native service. Okay. So this is, if you look into, let me just create a dummy one. I'll just create a dummy EPG. That's just for fun. Okay, I'll call it native service. Right. So far, when we talk about EPG, right, we're talking about instances. We're talking about a kind of a virtual machine that I put in the cloud. Now, what about things like if I consume native cloud services like SQL, Dynamo, right, or block storage, right, or AKS services in Azure, can I assign this to an EPG? Yes, you can. So if you look into the configuration, there is one option, right? So if you remember just now, we define EPG, right? It's either application or external. But as you move to the Azure Cloud APIC, right, in the latest release 5.1.2 and onward, there's this thing called a service. I can select service, right? I will select that this service will be linked to the service called application, photo application VRF. Okay. Now, if you look into what I can select now, you'll see that now my EPG can apply against any of the native services offered by Microsoft. So when I deploy, let's say I use a re-platform example, right? I have enough of maintaining the database. I don't want to manage the database anymore. Why can't I use the database service offered by Microsoft? Right? So I don't want to maintain a database. I don't want to fetch. I just want to have database service, right? So in this case, I can just select Azure SQL services, right? And this itself become a service that I can use in Azure, and I can now apply a contract, a policies to determine who can use the Microsoft Azure services, right? So I can save it as one of the service, and of course I can also go about defining specific attributes. So for instance, I can say that I could have multiple Azure service, SQL service I deploy, right? I can use the same thing. I can say that this is for HR, then I will add the expression to say that I can define different attributes, right? To say what is my endpoint definition. So these are those things that can be done when associated. So it depends on the configuration. I can actually go about defining all the different type of parameters if I want to, right? Just to say that this is a service that I want to implement. Right? So I just created an EPG called the SQL service, which is mapped against a Microsoft native services. So this is one of the new capabilities that we introduced in ACI 5.1.2. So if you look into, let me just show you a recorded video of how it works. Because of time constraint, I'm not able to put this into the demo, but this is how it looks like, right? In the Microsoft Azure. Okay. So what I have here in this illustration is that I have an external service that needs to talk to AKS. So this is where I deploy the Kubernetes services, right? So what I can do is I can go to the Microsoft Azure, right? I can define a service that I showed you just now, right? I create an EPG. I call this the application services, AKS, right? Then I can associate this to a set of attributes if I want to, right? Then I will associate this. One of the things that I also do here is that I select an endpoint to say that this AKS service must have a service name that's equal to SPK1 AKS1, just for illustration. It can be any name. I can call this a shipping service. I can call this the a payment service, whatever, right? So every services that I deploy in AKS will be associated with a service name. And what I'm doing here is to apply this service name offered by AKS as one of the endpoints I want to manage, right? So this is how it looks like, right? So you can see that this is a cloud native managed service, this is AKS, and this is the name that we use. So what is the meaning of SPK one AKS? So as I deploy the Kubernetes services, right? So this is regardless of whether I use ACI or not. Just give a second. Let me just pause at the previous part, right? So what you see here is regardless of whether I use ACI. Right, this is I deploy a service independently in Microsoft. It's called the SPK1 AKS1. Okay, but what I want to do now is I want to apply a contract against this service. So I can actually use this a policy just now to say that I would like we have an endpoint selector name equal to this service that's been exposed, and then from there now I can do the association, and automatically we will map this service to this IP address string that we're seeing here. So this is how we can do all the EKS service. So the rest are just illustration on the AKS to show you how it works. Right? So this is just a simple illustration on how we can use Microsoft Native Service. So hopefully in the next lab session, next workshop, we will cater a lot more time for you to touch things like Google Cloud, stuff like that. Okay. So that is some of the new features that have been introduced. So if you look beyond what we have today, I'll just highlight one or two slides and then we just close this session. Okay. So moving forward, a few things that you will see, right? So one of the new capability that's coming up by second half, during second half of this year, that means anything from June onwards, we will add Google Cloud as one of our sites. So Google Cloud and Google Cloud Epic, the same interaction that we have today will be applicable to the Google Cloud. So that's one of the new capability that you will see, right? Then of course, there will also be integration with the container services, right? Like what you see in AKS, likewise you'll see the same thing on GCP. This is some of the feature that we are toying around. Right, so we're looking into integrating the Cloud ACI onto the AWS outpost as well. So there's a case where some of the deployment will actually push physical appliance onto the on-prem data center, but it's managed through AWS. Right, so this is where we can also extend the Cloud API onto the same onto this sort of scenario. So in case you have any kind of customer opportunity that looks like this, let us know. Right, so we can probably prioritize some of these capabilities. So this is something that's being considered at this stage in time. Okay, so kind of end the session now. So I hope you have learned quite a fair bit today. I think one thing that's important is really to look into to interconnect stuff in the hybrid cloud environment. If you do everything natively, it's actually very difficult, right? And of course, the better way is to talk about Cloud API for your customers, right? So I hope this session you can see the value that we can bring upon, right? And so the time is a little tight, so I cut down a lot of conversation. Right? So some of the important differentiator that you can see from here is that performance. I will use TGW, it gives us CDG performance, right? Then the other thing we talk about here is the integration with some of the native services that you see here. Like just now we talk about integrating with AKS services, right? And how we can easily interconnect multi-site across public cloud onto the on-prem data center. Some of these are unique capabilities that you cannot find in other player in the market, right? So that is on the differentiator side of things. Also in the lab scenario just now, this is a very common use case for your customers. So in the event you run your customers as doing things like this, what you learn today is very applicable, right? So I hope in this lab session, you have the experience on how to bring out the entire Cloud API. It's quite simple, right? Of course, you have to overcome some of the mingling around AWS or Azure Cloud. So once you overcome that, right, bring out the Cloud API is quite easy, right? Once you bring out Cloud API, you can easily use Cloud API to implement all the network connectivity policies. As you can see just now, how easily we build the IPsec tunnel, OSPF, BGP across all the remote sites, and how easily we can go about deploying segmentation policies, right? All the public device segments can be pushed across, right? And of course, we can also add in some of the L4 to 7 services at a later stage. So maybe the next workshop we will go into this. Okay. Now, Cloud API can deploy standalone, right? So as you have experienced in the morning today, we use AWS standalone, right? MSO can also be deployed in the cloud standalone. So we actually have the entire solution with no on-prem, multi-site orchestrator on the AWS, Cloud API on AWS, right? And also in ACI 512 on the Azure, we can also connect a remote branch directly to the Cloud API. So from there, I can define policies, right? So these are some of the important capabilities, that we'll try to introduce you today, right? So the net solution to the customers, right? We provide a much simpler solution, right? To interconnect public cloud. It's a lot consistent in terms of how we define connectivity policies, how we define the segmentation policies. So think about it, right? Think about the opportunity that you have, right? Some of the opportunities that you think that it is not your area of responsibility, right? Because I don't know about networking in AWS or networking in Azure. Right? Don't be shy. Use Cloud APIC, right? So this can actually solve a lot of the problem for you. Okay. So that's pretty much all I have. Prepare for this session. We can't overrun because I was hoping we can start at 9 o'clock. That was my assumption initially. Okay. Derek, I'm done.
Okay, yeah. Thanks so much for everyone for staying through today's session. Yeah, I know it's a very long and quite intensive training. Right, so for those who want to continue doing the lab, right, do let us know. If not, I think we'll be shutting down the lab at what time is the plan for?
Actually, I intend to shut down at 6:30.
Okay, yeah. If you want to have an extension, right, definitely we can do an extension. Pricing one. Can we do extension for today, or do we have to return the lab today?
Until what time?
I think it's 8 p.m. okay if let's say anyone wants to extend.
Yeah, if you want to extend, you put on the team space, so I will not shut down your port. The rest I will shut down.
Okay, yeah. So just drop your message in the chat room if you want to extend it till 8 p.m. If not, we'll be shutting down the labs at 6:30. All right. So yeah. Once again, thanks so much for everyone's participation, and so very big thanks to Kuai for conducting this session for our partners. Right. We hope to see you again, and yeah. Hope you guys enjoy your weekend. Thank you.
Okay, I will not shut down port 8. The rest, okay, by 6:30 you must tell me you extend or not. Otherwise I'll shut down everything because I have an appointment. I must do by 6:30. So you let me know. I will not shut down.
Okay. Please remember to drop the note ASAP. All right. Okay.
If it's free, I don't mind. But every hour it charge us, so no choice.
Okay. Yep. I'll be ending the session today. And yeah, thanks for everyone for the nice message. Thanks, Nasri.